If the pilot fails, can an ordinary person fly the plane instead? What you are seeing now is one of the most common scenes in Hollywood movies. The pilot suddenly falls unconscious, and an ordinary passenger steps forward. Under radio guidance, they manage to land the plane and save the day. According to a real survey in the United States, nearly half of male respondents confidently believe that in an emergency, they could land a plane safely, just like in the movies. But have you noticed something? The cockpit is filled with complex instruments and buttons. Can an ordinary person really operate it? If the pilots actually become incapacitated, can you step in and take control of the aircraft? Today, we're going to break this down in detail. As usual, let's start with the answer. If it is purely manual flying by an untrained passenger, the probability of a crash is close to 100%. But if the aircraft is a modern airliner and you are extremely lucky, survival is not completely impossible. This is because modern airliners are equipped with automatic landing systems. In simple terms, as long as you can follow instructions over the radio and correctly configure the system, the aircraft can align with the runway and complete descent, flare, and braking on its own. But don't be too optimistic. To even activate this system, you first need access to the cockpit. After the events of September 11th, cockpit doors are reinforced and locked. Without authorization, you cannot enter, no matter what. So let's assume you are already in the captain's seat. Your first real challenge is communication. You might think you can just pick up the radio and say, "Mayday." But in a real simulator test conducted by aviation YouTuber Captain Joe, an ordinary volunteer took over 20 minutes just to find the correct communication button on the radio panel. And you need to understand this. A passenger aircraft can travel several kilometers per minute. In 20 minutes of uncontrolled flight, the aircraft could be hundreds of kilometers off course, miss the optimal landing window, or even run critically low on fuel. Even if you manage to establish communication with air traffic control, the real challenge has just begun. The autopilot system on a modern airliner is not a one-button landing solution. At this point, an experienced controller will give you instructions using terminology you likely don't understand. You will need to operate the flight management system, input the destination airport's ILS frequency, configure the approach, and engage multiple autopilot channels. You must also deploy the landing gear at the correct speed, extend the flaps in stages, and set the auto-brake system properly. If any of these steps are done incorrectly, the aircraft may enter an unstable, high-energy state. The system may abort the landing and trigger a go-around, causing the aircraft to suddenly accelerate and climb at low altitude. For an untrained person, this often leads to loss of control and a crash. At this point, some of you might argue that there have been real cases where passengers successfully landed planes. And that's true. For example, there have been incidents where a passenger landed an aircraft with guidance from air traffic control, but these were small propeller aircraft, such as a Cessna 172. Small aircraft fly slower, and their controls are much simpler. They are fundamentally different from large commercial airliners. In aviation history, there has never been a confirmed case of an untrained passenger successfully landing a large commercial jet. A university study in the United States used a full-motion flight simulator to test this. Participants with no flight experience attempted to land under ATC guidance. The results were consistently poor. Some failed due to incorrect radio communication and stalled the aircraft. Others panicked at the final stage and crashed. Some overshot the runway entirely. Even those with strong confidence quickly broke down under real pressure. In reality, adrenaline, cognitive overload, and decision paralysis create a massive psychological barrier. Combined with the complexity of aircraft systems, this creates an almost insurmountable gap between ordinary people and trained pilots. So in summary, if a small aircraft encounters an emergency, you might survive with luck and proper guidance. But if it is a large commercial airliner, unless you are an experienced flight simulation enthusiast and extremely lucky, the probability of a successful landing is nearly zero. Pilots undergo hundreds, even thousands of hours of training not to relax in the sky, but to handle complex systems under extreme pressure and ensure the safety of everyone on board. Now, do you understand?